AOH with another podcast, and it's one of those days where the only breakfast that is going to suffice is Guinness. Oh, Draymond, you're so disgusting. But again, like I said in a previous episode, I'm having a hard time deciding whether Draymond is more disgusting or all these assholes on TV talking about Draymond are disgusting, because they couldn't be more inconsistent or full of shit.
Because I want to take a hard stance. I get tired of people being Draymond Green apologists. But I got to tell you, that's my kind of teammate. I want my teammate to come out of nowhere to put somebody in a chokehold.
I feel like that brother needed help. And I'm glad he not trying to choke me. But
That's actually kind of funny. You know, and Devin Booker didn't even seem that upset about it. Understandably. If I were Nurkic's teammate, I'd want someone to knock him out of the game. But Booker said Draymond wears his emotions on his sleeve. Okay, here come the excuses. So, you know, psychos that shoot people on campus from a tower are wearing their emotions on their sleeves. But I'm going to kick this off from a weird angle and look back at Ron Artest elbowing James Harden in the skull and elbowing the living shit out of him. This was when Harden was still playing for the Thunder. This was the good old days because I had the luxury of criticizing Kobe Bryant. I had a lot to say about Kobe Bryant at the time. I never dreamed that we'd be facing what the NBA has done trying to promote LeBron James. My God, please take me back to these days where the worst criticism I had was Kobe Bryant. Now, I know Kobe Bryant is me stepping on hallowed ground, so let me clarify. I'm not diminishing, I'm not taking away from Kobe Bryant's talents or ability as a basketball player. I'm just admitting that I had a lot to say about Kobe at the time. Anyway, I saw this live. You know, I was still invested, and I saw this live, and I thought, Jesus, that's a ending move in Kumite. Yeah, that's the type of place where you hit someone and they go blind. Ron Artest claimed that it was an accident. And his claim of it being an accident is about as fake as Draymond's claim of this being an accident. I don't know who celebrates by throwing an elbow behind yourself at head level. Why was he throwing an elbow with only one arm at head level on the side that happened to be where James Harden was? But that's not the worst part. It was the fact that he didn't react. You know, he just kept moving up the court like nothing had happened. Look, when your elbow connects with a skull at that velocity, there's no way in hell you don't respond to that if it was an accident. You don't be like, oh my God, what the hell did I just hit? I mean, that had to have even hurt Ron Artest's elbow a little bit. So him pretending that he didn't even feel it was actually the dead giveaway. So let's fast forward to today and all these analysts debating Draymond Green. Now, number one, some people are actually in a debate about whether this was intentional or not. And I'm going to pose a simple question. What else could possibly happen swinging your arms in that way? Behind you, where you just felt and know the tall defender is. You know for a fact he's still there. You know what his height is. What else was going to happen with that arm? Not hit the guy that you know is behind you? I don't understand the debate. What are they talking about? Draymond's left hand is literally on Nurkic's waist when he begins the windup of the right arm. And I don't understand what Nurkic is doing to him that incites this sort of anger. You know, this is where you wonder if Draymond really has something wrong with him. Really quick, because Draymond actually said in his press conference that he was trying to sell that Nurkic had hold of his jersey or his waist. Let's just acknowledge that Draymond deserves a flopping technical because Nurkic's limp bitch-ass hands weren't really doing much. And that doesn't mean you get to retaliate like this. He starts all the way on the other side and starts coming around with his left hand telling him where the object of impact is. And there's this awkward moment where you can see that Draymond realizes exactly where Nurkic is, and his arm changes slightly, but it doesn't stop. I mean, whatever recognition was happening right then could have actually stopped the swing. Don't fucking tell me that you can't stop the velocity of your own muscles. That's what your muscles do, is stop the motion of your arm. And then the follow through. Is this bad acting? It's like after the impact and then continuing to swing the arm through. Did he think that that was going to help it look like it was an accident? Like, hey, I was just, doing calisthenics out here and Nurkic was in the way. I was trying to do a full circle arm stretch. Again, I go back to the basic question. What else could possibly happen here other than to hit the other player? And considering that Draymond's left hand was telling him where Nurkic was and that he was playing against Nurkic, he damn well knew the height of the target. And there's been a lot of talk about whether or not this is just Draymond, which wouldn't make it okay. If this is your actual personality type, then your personality has just worked you out of a job for most people. It's amazing how quickly people can improve. They have true consequences. But if they don't have true consequences, it's amazing how they can produce excuses to keep acting the same. It's like, but all of a sudden, if you're facing actual jail time, or, if the next meal on your plate requires that you get your shit together at the job, it's amazing how suddenly all these mental illnesses that people supposedly have go away. And this is not to make light of mental illnesses, because they do exist. In fact, this should offend people more, that spoiled brat assholes who have never faced enough discipline to change their bratty behavior get to categorize their inability or unwillingness to discipline themselves as a mental illness. That's fucking gross. But Draymond doesn't really face consequences. We all know this isn't anywhere near new for him. And it's almost like he gets to reward himself in a different way because he has his followers and he has his podcast. He's providing himself with fuel for his own podcast. He's been sabotaging the Warriors for years and got to demand a max contract. Punches out teammates without any consequences. And there's we're gonna get the uncommon sense here in a minute, because he had some pretty good things to say that made me think about a few things. Now, before we get to that part, which will be a more fun part of the episode, let me give you an example of the absurdity of these idiots who get a voice on national television. I did a whole segment about how damaging these guys were after Draymond choked out Gobert. And now here we have Jay Will saying he's tired of Draymond apologists. Well, this is also Jay Will as Draymond is choking out Gobert.
But I gotta tell you, that's my kind of teammate. I want my teammate to come out of nowhere to put somebody in the chokehold.
So, Jay Will, you are tired of yourself and your kind. The idea of consequences in this warped reality of the NBA is just a hard one to wrap your head around in the first place, because these guys could be fined $1 million and still be leading the most wasteful, luxurious, ridiculous, debaucherous existences that you and I can even fathom in our imaginations. Like, how exactly do you discipline kids whose allowance is so big that if you take out a tiny fraction of that allowance, it doesn't fucking matter? Hey, you're buying me everything I need in the first place, Mom, Dad. The fuck do I care if you cut back on my allowance? My podcast is bringing in enough money that I have to debate whether or not being this shitty is actually bringing me more money. Being a complete psycho piece of shit is attracting a certain crowd, and I'm being rewarded for it in a different way. Stephen A. tries to pass blame off to Steph Curry. I mean, no matter what kind of a teammate Steph Curry is, whether he's a great leader or not, you're still finding a way to pass blame. Got to be responsible for yourself. And Draymond Green is a terrorist of a teammate. What about Steph Curry tells anyone that he's the type of guy who gets in the middle of scuffles or is intimidating with his teammates? He's Mr. Nice Guy. I'm willing to be part of this and sacrifice my greatness for others. Nothing about Steph Curry says that he's going to put someone like Draymond in his place. Listen, LeBron James wouldn't put Draymond in his place. Those two act like friends. I swear, if you put them on the same team, which I'm praying will happen for multiple reasons, to show that Draymond sucks and all this shit about the super team warriors. Yeah, go ahead and take one of those members of the super team, put him on LeBron's team. We'll end that whole discussion real fast. You do not want Draymond Green, but if you do, please take him. Before LeBron retires, I want to see, or before Draymond retires, I want to see those two have to play together. Their personalities will just clash. LeBron will not. Even if these two are both on Clutch Sports together, Draymond is so dysfunctional. He won't be able to take more than 10 straight minutes of the condescending shit LeBron does to his teammates. Even if he knows it's part of the plan and part of his contract, Draymond is going to fucking snap. That shit would be over well before a season was over. But yes, it's Steph Curry's fault. My God. So Uncommon Sense actually posed a question, and I thought I'd answer it in this podcast, but I want to, again, build on some of the topics he brought up. He mentioned in a different episode about alphas, but it carried over into the Draymond episode, talking about Draymond's insecurities. And in the alpha episode, it's about LeBron's insecurities. And people with such insecurities tend to show them. You know, it's not the undisputed best person who needs to go around trying to get some sort of verification. He already has his verification in his mind, and everyone else in the world agrees. It's not him declaring it and trying to get the rest of the world to agree. In this league lacking alphas, does anyone notice that there's an increased amount of after the whistle bullshit? The game itself is getting less physical. You know, they're not challenging each other during the actual live gameplay. But once that whistle is blown, and then even, several seconds after anything has happened, all of a sudden someone decides, okay, you said something that went too far. They weren't even like in the middle of a fight. They just got their feelings hurt to a certain extent. And it's happening all the time. And does that not make anyone else think about the insecurities of these children that are out there? That you want to front and do fake fights after the whistle is blown. And for the moron LeBron fans listening, that I have to again explain that tough and dirty aren't the same. If you want to play physical, you can play physical by the rules and do it during live gameplay. This pushing and shoving after the whistle is blown isn't what anyone wants to see, I don't think. Not if you are a real basketball fan. There's other sports where you can watch that shit. Maybe a couple of times a year, but these guys can't go a game without someone saying something someone didn't like. Now, Uncommon asked if we think Draymond should retire. Well, yeah, as far as his contribution to the game. But like I said earlier, no, you cannot retire until you and LeBron James have suffered the pain of playing together. Not until that fake friendship gets exposed live on television. You don't have to be a pro athlete for this to be true. I wonder how many people listening can self-examine their lives, especially if you're older, and remember a time where you actually got okay with yourself and what other people thought mattered less, and therefore how you react to people changes too. Like, if you're happy with yourself, you really don't have much need to take other people down, or at least you don't need to try and raise yourself by lowering others if you have no problem with yourself. A lot of people are figuring themselves out through life, and certain things that happen in life help you, whether it's a hardship, but you find yourself and mature. When these guys get rich and have the player power that they do at the age that they do, their ability to mature and ever reach the level that I just described in another person might be hindered, if not blocked. Even in their so-called hardships, if we're going to call it a hardship, like getting suspended, if even while that's happening, you have all these people telling you that you're fine and you're not wrong, then you can't even call that a hardship. Like, there's no learning experience there because things really weren't that bad. You have to get shaken a little bit to reevaluate yourself. Okay, I just loaded up Uncommon Senses episode, and now I'm in a better mood. I was getting deep there. Oh, Uncommon always makes me laugh. Speaking of, this fucking guy made me spit out my drink the other day when he said Commissioner Voldemort. So Uncommon had a good example of the very thing I was just talking about, where the star football players in the town where he lived, they didn't really cause problems or pick on him or start shit with him. It was the guys who needed the validation. Maybe the guys who people didn't even recognize were on the football team. And maybe that hurt them or something. Like I said, it's the guys that don't have the full confidence that cause the problems. This could be in the workplace and just not keeping your mouth shut because you're hoping that shitting on other people will help you up the ladder, or going to the club with the guys looking for women. It's the insecure motherfucker who's going to fuck everything up. Like the football guys, the football stars, when I was a little kid growing up, they were nice to me. It was the kid on the bus that was like 4 grades older that always wanted to pick on me, and I thought even then as a kid, there's something wrong with him. There's definitely something causing him to be this shitty to a 3rd grader. Uncommon goes on to discuss how Draymond has achieved more notoriety than he probably deserves. And I would agree with that. You'll never know for sure unless he gets traded somewhere else and we see what he can bring to the team versus, hey, he was fortunate enough to be in a great system where his triple single abilities can actually be utilized into a system. In this league where these young fans pretty much judge somebody by their point totals at the end of every night, I don't know how those same people are clamoring to say that Draymond Green is a superstar and part of a super team, except that it helps your defense of LeBron James. I forgot what Uncommon said that Jordan Poole had said to Draymond in the fight, but I had heard that he said something to the effect of, it must have been those triple singles that were getting you the women in college or something like that. And no matter how good the shit talking is, no matter how much it hurts the other person, man, if it makes you react the way Draymond did, the problem lies within Draymond. Again, you can take offense and maybe have your own comeback. Or maybe if you're really secure, you fucking laugh about it because you know it's true. That's when you have your confidence, when you can laugh about your own limitations. Having Draymond's limitations pointed out to him was something that clearly burns deep in his heart as a reality. Why else would you have to act like that? I mean, I'm sorry. He knocked out his own teammate. He didn't knock out a stranger on the street. He didn't knock out a guy in a bar fight. He knocked out a guy at practice because of something he said. It's just absurd. Well, that's just about it. I guess the last thing I'd say regarding LeBron and Draymond ever pairing up, the thought of the two of them in a nightclub getting into an altercation with another set of 6'9" guys. I don't know if I could picture any two people on the planet backpedaling faster than those two fake tough guys.